Hey guys, this is Coach Connor here with Coach Matt, and we're going to take you through a follow-along routine that's going to help you open up all sorts of range of motion. So the concept we're exploring today is called controlled articular rotations. We're going to call these CARs for short. Now these can be used as a warm-up, you can use these as a cool-down to help explore range of motion you may have fought for in your workout, or you can actually use this as a self-diagnostic tool to kind of see where your deficiencies are.
So we're going to be using a concept called irradiation, and we're going to refer to it a lot throughout the workout. Essentially what it is it's creating tension throughout your body so that you can isolate movement at one specific joint. So if you look at your finger, if you're able to lock up the rest of your finger, you can bend just the last joint just like this. Or if you can't do it, you can hold and brace, and now you'll be able to move just that joint in question. So the concept is the same. Create tension through your body and then isolate movement at one specific joint. Now, while you're taking yourself through full ranges, if I notice that it's a little bit painful for me to get into this range, I want to back out of it and then resume the movement in pain-free ranges. You want to bump into pain, but not go through it.
By going around the pain, this is how we're actually going to carve out new ranges of motion. This way of finding space in your body is telling your CNS system to actually trust itself. So, like Matt said, bump into pain, but don't press through it. This should not be a painful thing.
One last thing before we actually get into the workout. This workout, as Connor mentioned before, it can be used for a lot of different applications, including you can actually ramp up the volume a little bit and really create tension through your body, and you can actually use this as a way to improve your cardiovascular fitness and burn fat and get your heart rate up as well.
All right, let's jump into it.
Cool. So what we're going to be starting first here are cervical CARs. So Connor's going to create tension through his entire body here. He wants to root his feet into the ground, grip the ground with his toes, fire up his glutes, his abs, lock his arms in place, shoulders down and back, and he's going to start rolling through his neck here. So he's going to start by side bending and then extending up and around. And again, you want to go through full range of motion, but you might notice there's a couple uncomfortable ranges with your neck. Take it slow and slowly, gradually work on opening up that range. We're going to do 4 rotations for each one of these exercises. We're going to do 4 rotations in one direction, and when he finishes his 4, he's going to go the opposite direction. So that's going to apply to all the different exercises that we do in the workout.
So I'm switching sides now. I'm going to start with flexion, rotation, side bend, extend, rotate all the way across, side bend, into flexion.
You notice that he's not compensating through his shoulders, staying nice and tall through his torso, and staying nice and solid. So once he finishes up his reps here, we're going to move into thoracic CARs. So this is your middle of your back essentially, and again he's going to create tension and try and isolate movement at that joint, or those joints in your spine. So he's going to root his feet into the ground, create tension, take a breath in. He's going to lock his arms in place, same thing, rotate, side bend, extend, reach all the way back and around, side bend, flex for 4 rotations in each direction. Now again, it's extremely important with this one to not move through painful ranges, bump into it, don't go through it. Really nice. Make sure to remember to breathe during this. Although you're creating tension, you do want to try and relax as much as possible for maximum range of motion. Notice his hips here are not displacing, so his hips are staying nice and solid, and he's only rotating through the back. He's not compensating through his legs, he's not shifting his hips in or out, but staying nice and rigid.
So just like the neck CARs, we're going flexion, twist, side bend, extend through every vertebrae, rotate all the way across, side bend, back into flexion.
Nice. All right, so the next one is our scapular CARs. So our scapula is sort of a wing-shaped bone right in our upper back here, sort of or our shoulder blade, as a lot of people call it. So Connor's going to set himself up here, create tension again. He's going to push his scapula down, push forward, lift, and retract. So lift, retract, push down, protract forward. Trying to keep his arms nice and level and not compensating through any other joints.
And now I'm reversing. Depression, traction, elevation, protraction, compression. Back, up, forward, down.
So once he finishes his 4 rotations in each direction, the next one we're going to move on to are our shoulder cards. So you can do these one at a time, and again, 4 rotations in each direction. So we're going to start with, let's start with the right arm here. So on the left side, he's going to create tension, squeeze his fist, lock everything in place, and only move through the shoulder. So I'll talk you through the second rep here, so you watch the first one. Reverse, come all the way back around. So once he comes around here, what he's going to be doing, he's going to be externally rotating at his shoulder joint, and now he's going to lift up and towards the midline, fighting for as much external rotation as possible until he can't go any further. Then he's going to internally rotate at the shoulder and fight for as much internal rotation as possible, coming all the way around, and then he's going to reverse back in the other direction. Taking your joint through full range of motion, and again, making sure his shoulders stay nice and level here. So flex, up and around, internal rotation, and reverse. Up and around, and get that external rotation to finish. Going to do the other side now, left arm. So you can follow along with our reps exactly if that works for you. You can also add in extra reps if you want to do more, or you can do this as a sequence. You can go all the way through and repeat again. These can be done every day if you would like. A lot of times you'll see in your programming though, they're just programmed once per week. But again, you can do it every day. One thing that you can do to progress this and make this a little bit more difficult is you can hold a lacrosse ball or a tennis ball or something in your hand just to create a little bit of extra tension and really to isolate that movement at the shoulder joint. So he's going to finish up this set here. The next one we're going to be doing are elbow cards. So we're going to work our way all the way down to the wrist, and then we're going to switch to the lower body. That's the last one.
Yeah.
Okay, so next one, what you might not know about the elbows is they can flex and extend, but they can also rotate back and forth. Okay, so Connor's going to start by anchoring his elbows into his side, creating tension through his body, keeping his hands nice and tight, and he's going to lift all the way up, rotate, and push down, fighting for as much rotation as possible. He's going to rotate again and come up, rotate, and push down.
We're reversing now.
So now he's going back up, palms up, reverse to the top, and lower down. Again, fighting for maximum range of motion. Really squeezing at the top, trying to get those hands as close to your face as possible, and then squeezing on the way down as well. So once he finishes his 4 here in each direction, we're going to move on to the wrist. Now the wrist, you want to focus, so he's going to get started here, but what you want to focus on is pretend there is a drop of water on the top of your wrist here, and you're not allowed to let it drip off your arm. So you got to anchor your arms into your sides, and you want to isolate the movement only through the wrist. You can see here, he's not rotating from the elbow, but only from the wrist. Let me just roll your arm. There you go. Okay, so you can see here his wrists are going to stay facing up, and he's going to rotate his arms in one direction all the way around for 4 reps. Really focusing on pulling them in, down, out, and up. It's not quite going to be a circle, it's going to be more of a rounded rectangle. And again, fight for as much range of motion as possible. Once you get forward, move it the other way. So it's going to burn, that's normal, but you want to lean into that burn, that's good. If you're shaking a little bit too, that's good. That just tells you that you're in ranges that your body hasn't really strengthened or used much before. Alright, so I'm gonna be demoing the lower body stuff. So the first one we're going to do is spinal segmentations. Go sideways for this.
Yeah, go give him the profile, Matt. Okay. So what we're going to do is we're going to get into quadrupedal stance. We're going to start by putting the whole spine into extension, right? So that means like you're in anterior pelvic tilt and you're looking up, so you have this nice extension. Now what you're going to do is one vertebrae at a time, starting at the hip, you're going to slowly curl your spine back. Now starting at the hip again, you're going to go into that anterior tilt, and you're going to walk it up one vertebrae at a time. So we're going to go 4 times from the hip, and then we're going to go 4 times starting from the neck, and Matt's going to show you what that looks like. So Matt's doing a real good job of trying to segment one spine at a time. Walk it all the way up. So it's important here that we have a nice stacked position, right? You can see Matt is shoulders over elbows over wrists, and same over here, we're hips over knees, right? This is a moment we want to create a lot of attention, you want to irradiate, all right? So Matt, let us know when you're reversing directions.
Yeah, so starting from the neck now.
Perfect. So now you're going the neck, you're going the opposite way, rounding that thoracic cavity, rounding the back, and finally tucking the pelvis. Going back to the neck, doing the same thing. Looking good, Matt, looking good. Last one. All right. So after this, we're going to move on to hip cards. So just like the shoulder, it's a ball and socket joint. We're going to do one at a time.
How do we from this thing? Just
yeah.
This.
So what you want to do is you want to get a nice straight body line, all right? Grasping your hands, you're pushing with the bottom hand, pulling with the top, right? That's going to help you create more tension. You want your shoulders stacked over each other and your hips stacked over each other. So you're going to start by...
And I'm actually going to be driving my heel, this heel here, into the ground as well, creating tension so that if I wanted to, I can actually lift my hips off the ground. I'm not going to do that, but I want to create that tension.
All right. And now we're going to move the hip the same way we move the shoulder. We're going to drive that knee up into flexion. We're going to move that knee and leg away. And now we're going to reach back and internally rotate at the same time. These are going to be tough, but fight for that tension, fight for that butter. All right, drive that knee forward and kick it back. Donkey kick. Now external rotation. Good, good. So throughout all of your cars, you don't want to ever speed up or slow down. Fight to maintain that tension, fight to maintain that speed. All right, he's internally rotating and reaching back in extension. Drive that knee forward and donkey kick and reverse. Bring that knee up and away, fighting for external rotation. Awesome. Flexion.
So while I'm doing these
Adduction.
here, I want to focus on driving my knee forward and reaching my heel back as I draw the biggest circle I can. And then when I reverse, I'm focusing on driving that knee up and the heel down towards the ground as I draw a big circle coming all the way around. Trying to keep my pelvis neutral, not arching my back or anything like that. I'm going to switch sides. Do left side.
So you want to stay nice and stable the whole time. You're not doing your very best to keep your hips stable. Try not to shift your weight back and forth. So we're driving up into flexion. We're coming away in abduction. We're internally rotating as we're reaching back into extension. We're going to adduct close to the hips. Now we're going to reverse. Donkey kick. Bring that knee up and away and externally rotate. Fighting for as much distance away and up from your body. And reset. Nice. Up.
Make sure to breathe while you guys are doing this.
Out. Internal rotation while you're reaching back. Adduction to finish off this half. And reverse. extension, abduction and external rotation, adduction, reset. Very good.
Last one.
Nice.
Whew.
So this is something that you can't do too much of. You can do this every single day, and it's probably the best way to get better at this. I encourage you to do this every single day. I know I do. So next we're moving into the knee. Now obviously our knee was going to flex and extend, but it also rotates, just like the elbow. So we're sit down on the ground.
Okay, so just before we get into the actual movement, I just want to sort of cue you guys to practice this a little bit, where if you can't create any rotation at the knee, keep your heel on the ground and just focus on trying to move this protrusion here of your tibia, this bony surface, trying to move it side to side, initiating the movement from the knee. Once you get comfortable with that, now you'll actually be able to go into the cars. So I'll start with my right leg here.
So you notice Matt's also grabbing his thigh here. It's very important that you brace your femur, because you don't want to create this at the hip. We really want to isolate that knee joint, right? So he's internally rotating, he's extending, externally rotating, and flexing. He's going to go through this, and then he's going to reverse. Kick right back up, internally rotate, flex. Out, up, in, and down.
It's going to be difficult, guys. It's really important to not compensate through the ankles. It's really easy to get into the habit of doing this. So it helps to pull your toes up towards your shins as hard as possible, and it'll lock your feet a little bit more solidly in place so that you can isolate the movement from the knee.
Really hammer that dorsiflexion.
You're gonna get some pops. That's fine as long as it doesn't hurt.
That's a good reminder. We're never moving through painful ranges of motion. We're going to bump up against them, we're going to rub up against them, but don't force yourself through that painful range of motion. One painful rep it's not worth it. You're going to get a lot more value by doing more of these non-painful reps.
Last one.
Awesome. So when we jump into the ankle cars next, it's important to get a good chokehold on your knee here. Just like we were doing our knee, we don't want the hip to rotate. Now that we're doing the ankle, we don't want any rotation from the knee. We're really trying to isolate this. So we're going to start by gas pedaling our foot down, rotating it into inversion, and now pull that back up. Rotate it out into eversion, and gas pedal back down. So just like the wrists, we're not drawing loose circles here. We're kind of actually tracing out a box. As you get better and you find more and more ranges of motion, it's going to get more and more rounded, but at these beginning stages, it's going to look pretty clunky.
So if you notice while I'm doing this, I'm going to reverse here and go the other way. I'm trying to fight for as much eversion here, that's my ankle angling outwards, as I lift my toes up. As I invert and reach the sole of my foot inwards, I'm going to fight to keep that inversion as I gas pedal down, trying to draw the biggest rectangle that I can.
And that goes for any rotational concepts through these cars. Like when you're reaching back with your shoulder, keep fighting for more internal rotation. When you're driving your knee up out of those hip cars, keep fighting for external rotation. Your body will allow you to get more rotation as you move through these reps. And it's through these rotation is what you're really going to open up space for in your body. A lot of these joints, the only one, the spine's the only exception, but all these joints, the primary function is to rotate. And that's what's going to give you room to breathe in your body. So Matt's going on to the other leg, gas pedaling down, inverting, bringing that up to dorsiflexion, is reversed.
And again, really locking that tibia, that shin in place, not allowing it to move. As soon as you start to compensate through one joint, you're not going to be getting the benefits that you want from this. Lean into that burn. Butter up those joints. Okay, so last thing that we're going to finish off with is the toes. So you can do this standing, you can also do this sitting like this.
Definitely harder sitting.
Yeah, definitely harder sitting. So you want to start by splaying your toes. So open up your toes as much as you can. Start with all 5 toes on the ground. And I'm just going to try and lift just my big toe. Lift it up and down. We're going to do 4 reps. Try and get as much height as possible without letting your toes cave inwards towards the other toes. Don't let them bunch up. Keep them separate. Now we're going to switch. Big toe stays down. Lift the other 4 toes up. Ooh. Gonna feel that burn. And now one thing I want to mention with this is really be cognizant of the position of your foot. You want to have equal force going through the ball of your foot as well as the outside corner here and your heel. You don't want to start, if I'm trying to lift my toes here, you don't want to start doing this and shifting your foot back and forth. You don't want to compensate that position. Only move through the toes.
Once you've done your reps with the big toe on the ground, we're going to lift all of our toes up, we're going to splay them, and now we're just going to put the big toe down. So keeping your 4 little toes up, we're just moving that big toe.
Once you get 4 reps, keep all 5 toes up, and now reach just the 4 toes down, keeping the big toe up. For reps, again, keeping that neutral foot position. And we're going to finish off with a little bit of a challenge here. So start by splaying all your toes, lifting them up. And we're going to piano key them, starting with the little toe, 1 at a time, and finishing with the big toe. Lift with the big toe, lift up 1 at a time, and go back and forth for 4 reps. You want to try and create tension, like push your toes actively into the ground, but obviously you're going to have to ease into it. Do your best to maintain proper form, keep those toes from bunching up, and then as you get a little more comfortable, you can start producing a little bit more force into the ground. Last one. Feel this in your shins, and finish. Shake it out. So that's the end of our workout. Hope you guys enjoyed it. If you have any questions at all, feel free to reach out to us on Instagram at alliance_athletics_. You can reach out to us through our website, our emails, and we answer every question. So feel free to reach out and ask us any questions you might have.
Take care.
Thanks for watching.